If Nixon actually picked up a phone in 1969 and spoke live to two men standing on the moon, what kind of device were those astronauts holding on the other end? Because Wi-Fi didn't exist, cell towers didn't exist, and the nearest Verizon store was 238,000 miles away. And here's what makes it even stranger. The same government that couldn't reliably connect a phone call from New York to Los Angeles in 1969 somehow patched through a crystal-clear, zero-lag conversation to outer space to two guys in bulky suits on a rock with no atmosphere, no signal infrastructure, and no charging port in sight. But wait, if the moon has no air, no magnetic field, and sits in a vacuum of dead silence, what exactly was carrying that voice signal? Because sound needs a medium to travel. So how did Nixon's voice reach the moon at all? Here's where it gets real uncomfortable. In 1969, the most advanced consumer phone technology on Earth was a rotary dial connected to a copper wire bolted into your wall. NASA's own internal communication systems were notoriously glitchy. Engineers on the ground were still solving basic problems with radio blackouts and signal delays every single mission. But on July 24th, 1969, the White House press office proudly announced that President Nixon had a phone call with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, live from the moon. They even called it, and this is a direct quote, the most historic phone call ever made. Now think about this carefully. A regular overseas call in 1969 had static, delays, dropped signals, echo problems. Submarine cables were only laid across the Atlantic a decade earlier. Satellite phone technology, as we know it today, didn't become commercially available until the 1990s. That's literally 30 years after this supposed moon call. So what pipeline did Nixon's voice travel through? NASA says it was transmitted via radio frequency, UHF band, bounced between relay stations on Earth, and somehow reached the lunar surface in real time. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Radio signals traveling 238,000 miles should have at least a 1.3-second delay each way. That's 2.6 seconds round trip minimum. Go listen to the recording of that call. Count the pauses. Something feels very off. And it doesn't stop there. The same era that allegedly landed humans on the moon also gave us grainy, blurry, low-quality black and white TV footage that, honestly, looks worse than a 2003 flip phone camera. We went to the most extreme frontier in human history and came back with footage that looks like it was filmed through a dirty sock. Meanwhile, the Hubble telescope, launched in 1990, just 21 years later, was capturing razor-sharp images of galaxies billions of light years away. But we couldn't get one decent photo of an astronaut's face on the moon from 238,000 miles. The deeper you look, the more questions pile up. Why did NASA conveniently lose the original Apollo 11 telemetry tapes? Why did Stanley Kubrick, the greatest technical filmmaker of that era, suddenly get hired by NASA shortly before the landing? Why do multiple astronauts who supposedly walked on the moon refuse to swear on a Bible that they did? These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented facts sitting in public records that most people have simply never been told to look at. The honest answer is, nobody has given a clean, simple, verifiable explanation for the phone call technology. What exists are vague technical references, general statements about radio systems, and a lot of trustless energy from institutions that have been caught misleading the public before. Some independent researchers point out the call audio shows zero signal degradation, which is physically impossible for a transmission that distance with 1969 hardware. Others have noted the background audio environment sounds more like a studio than a live space mission. You don't have to believe anything, just ask the questions. If this made you stop and actually think, even for 1 second, then you owe it to yourself to keep going down this